Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Furucombo's workshops on the lending dashboard. So let's get right into it. For this workshop, we're going to just be doing a brief introduction on what is a lending protocol, why you should be using a lending protocol, what lending protocols are available on Furucombo, how you can get started, and how you can manage your position with the lending dashboard. So, first and foremost, lending protocols are platforms that allow users to borrow and lend crypto. So, this is all done in a decentralized manner over like the DeFi space. There's ways you can lend using central exchanges, but this is all done with your own kind of wallet, MetaMask wallet, Coinbase wallet, whatever you have on your end to interact with DeFi. So, typically, these lending protocols right now in the market are going to be over collateralized loans, and that's going to require you to deposit crypto worth more than the amount that you wish to borrow. So I see a lot of times people try to do a strategy where they're taking out more, uh, borrowing more from a lending protocol than they have as collateral, and that simply isn't going to work because of the system that's they have developed. So this protects lenders from losing money due to loan defaults, and it gives the protocol the ability to liquidate the collateral if it drops too much in value. So this is something you need to be aware of if you are making a deposit. For example, if you deposit ETH and you borrow an asset and the collateral drops lower than the borrowed amount, you risk some liquidation, as we'll see. So the benefits of a lending protocol are higher capital efficiency. You're putting your funds to work as opposed to just leaving them in your wallet. You can earn yield on your assets for lending to the protocol, and you can borrow from those deposited assets as well. And this allows you a unique strategy as well, allowing yourself to leverage. So, some things you need to be aware of though are the liquidation risk. So, this process occurs when a borrower's health factor drops below 1 due to your collateral not covering the loan or debt value. So, this can happen when the collateral decreases in value or the borrowed debt increases in value. So in a liquidation, up to 50% of a borrower's debt is repaid, and that value plus a liquidation fee is taken from the collateral available. So the liquidation fee is set based on the asset. It can be 5%, it can be 10%, 15%. So each asset has a different liquidation fee. If it's a safer asset, something that's more liquid, then the fees usually lower. So after liquidation, that amount is liquidated from your debt is repaid. And then the second risk that you need to be aware of is a smart contract risk. So anytime you're putting your funds in a DeFi protocol, staking, lending, there's always a risk that the contract could be hacked. Most protocols nowadays are taking on the idea of having some insurance on the protocol or a fund set aside in the event of a hack. Aave is one of the biggest lending protocols available right now, so that's pretty safe. And then our other protocol that we have on Furucombo, Compound, is also very blue chip. So the smart contract risk is always there, but it's minimized using those two protocols. So the lending protocols on Furucombo then are Aave, and that's available on Ethereum, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, and Avalanche chains. Compound on Ethereum, and Geist, which is an Aave fork, and that will be on Phantom. So we can get right into the demonstration on how to use the lending dashboard. So first and foremost, if you want to access the lending dashboard, it's done via just the Furucombo website. And then we also have some docs to help get you started if you're just working on this, and you need some guidance. So here's the Furucombo main page, and then we'll just go into create mode. And then from here at the top, you can see create, invest, learn, and lending dashboard. So to access the lending dashboard, we would first click that, and then we would be greeted with this window. So depending on how you want to set things up, you can connect your wallet to the top right every time and then select the network that works for you. So for this demo, we're going to be using the Ethereum because I'm on the beta node. So I won't have to pay the higher gas fees potentially, but whatever works for you. With Ethereum, you are enjoying higher liquidity, maybe higher rewards. Polygon likely has Polygon and Phantom will have the lowest gas fees. Um, Arbitrum and Optimism are going to be your layer twos, and then Avalanche is a sidechain that's kind of in the middle. Probably going to see the lowest liquidity on that. Optimism may have the highest rewards because they are usually giving token rewards, and Arbitrum, I believe, I'm not sure if they started Arbitrum rewards yet for Aave, but they could have decent rewards for lending on there as well. It all depends. Each network will have different kind of rates for deposits and borrowing. So that's something you're going to have to kind of figure out where you want to put your funds, or maybe spread out your funds into the different networks. So this is how the lending dashboard works. We can see all the lending protocols here on the top left. So these are the Ethereum positions. So for the first part, we'll just focus on Aave v3, and then we can see the dashboard here. So the first thing we want to do is kind of take a position. So that can be done with the deposit button here. So when we click deposit, we can see we're greeted with this screen. So on the left here, it says transaction deposit token to Aave v3 to earn interest or as collateral. So first we can choose which asset we want to deposit. So for our first deposit, we'll maybe do 1 Ethereum. So we can see we get some information at the bottom here. We get the health rate before and after. So because we have no debt currently, there is no health rate. And we can see the return on investment, or the APY, we're going to get from this deposit. So we're going to earn 1.92% on this ETH deposit. We can also choose to add another asset, say like USDC or anything else, but maybe we want to just add assets to see like what the net APY is. So we can see if we deposit USDC, we're going to earn 3.11%. If we try with DAI, we're going to earn 2.54%. So you can kind of do this to see which asset you maybe want to deposit to earn what kind of APY. So say we want to earn, or we want to deposit USDT because we're getting 3.25%, but we don't have any in our wallet right now. What we can do is we can click on advanced mode here, and we can just swap some of a different token. So say in this case, we have Ethereum, and we can switch it to USDT. That way we can make a deposit on the lending dashboard. So I'm just going to send this transaction here so that we have some USDT in our wallet to make a deposit onto Aave. Just waiting for this transaction to process. Okay. So once we're ready to make the deposit, we can just choose the asset here. So in this case, we'll just do ETH here so we can see kind of how this is going to work. And then we'll send this. Might have to. Okay, if this ever happens, you can try to go to settings, you can go to advanced, you can clear the activity tab. Usually doesn't happen anymore. Likely just happening because we're on the beta node here. But let's give that a try, see if that works for us. Okay, sweet. So we've made our deposit here and the transaction's confirmed. Oh, and I did have a V2. That's okay. Okay, so we can see here now we made our deposit and it's showing up now on the lending dashboard. So we can see our supplied balance, the cost of that token, and the APY here. We can also see here the total supply on the left here. So the assets on the left will be your supplied assets, and the assets on the right will be your borrowed assets. So after we deposited, we can see we are greeted with another kind of function here, which is the collateral swap. So with the funds now deposited in Aave, we can use those to borrow against our collateral. So we can do that with the borrow button here on the right. So say we want to then make a borrow of a stablecoin. So we have one Ethereum of total supply of 1,841. So we can typically borrow up to about, on Aave v3, it's about 80 to 90% of the loan to value ratio. So if we just calculate that, maybe we'll be able to get around 1,600 USDC. So let's try about 1,500 and see. Okay, so that's going to put our utilization rate at 98% and our health rate at very close to 1. So what do these numbers mean? So the utilization rate represents the share of borrowed liquidity. So as you get closer to 100%, it means your collateral is being used by this borrowing function. So be aware that the liquidation risk is going to happen if you get closer to the 100%. So basically your health risk is going to be similar to the same thing. So it's a numeric representation of the safety of your deposited assets against the borrowed assets and its underlying value. So the higher the value is, the safer state of your funds are against liquidation. If the health factor reaches 0, liquidation could be triggered. And then, as mentioned before, 50% of that is going to go back to repaying that outstanding debt. So that's something you need to be aware of here. So we don't want to get that close to the 100% utilization or the 1 health rate. So we'll just borrow 1250. So that's going to give us a little bit of a buffer if our collateral or Ethereum goes down in value. So once you're happy with which asset you want to borrow, you can hit approve and then you can hit send. Okay. So now the borrowed assets will show up on the dashboard here. So a couple things to note. So we can see the amount borrowed, we can see the value of that asset, and we can see the total borrowed here on the top. Additionally, we can see the APY or cost of borrowing. So what this means is it's going to cost us a 3.92% to borrow this asset. We're earning 1.87% on our collateral, so our net APY in this case is going to be a minus 2.45%. So if we were to hold this for 1 year, we would get negative interest off of what we deposited and what we borrowed. So additionally, we've got access to 3 more functions here now on the right. So we can debt swap, we can leverage, and we can deleverage here. So what does all this mean? So basically at any time, if you're ever confused with the verbiage, you can click it and you can get a little description here on the left. Basically what a collateral swap is going to allow you to do, the one on the left here, is it's going to allow you to swap your collateral or your deposited assets within the lending protocol without first repaying your debts. So this requires no upfront funds. So what typically happens if you want to do a collateral swap without Furucombo is you would have to repay your debts, and then you can swap your collateral when you have no outstanding debt. So a debt swap is basically the same but for your debts. So this allows you to swap your debts or your borrowed assets within the lending protocol without first repaying your debts. So again, you can find out the information here on the left if you ever are confused by the verbiage. So for example, if I realize, hey, DAI is maybe giving a lower APY rate and I want to switch to DAI for my debt, I can click debt swap here and I can choose DAI instead. So it looks like it's actually a worse rate. Let's see if there's any other stable coin here that's going to give me a better rate. Let's try USDT. Okay, so USDT in this case is going to give me a better rate. So maybe I want to debt swap then to USDC, or USDT rather. So it also gives us more information. Health rate will stay the same. So what this means is, so each asset is going to have a different loan to value ratio or liquidation ratio. So sometimes different assets will have a higher or lower ceiling for how much you can borrow. So in this case, the health rate is going to remain the same, so there's no difference in the ceiling between USDC and USDT. The APY is going to go down though, which means we're getting a cheaper rate for borrowing USDT. And because the health rate is going to remain the same, the liquidation threshold will remain the same. So if you're going to perform a debt swap on the advanced mode or create mode for Furucombo, this is how it would look. So you would take a flash loan, you would repay the USDC, you would borrow USDT, you would swap to USDC, and then repay that flash loan. So this is all done automatically through the lending dashboard. So all we have to do is approve. And send. Now we can see on our lending dashboard that we've converted all of our funds, are 99.999% to the USDT. We can also see that we're saving about 0.5% on our borrowed assets there. So that's greatly reduced our net APY. So this is a strategy you can do to kind of reduce your, loan to value ratio, or if you want to make any adjustments to your position, you can do that through that debt swap button. So that's all done pretty seamlessly. Now, maybe we determine that we don't want to use Ethereum because we think that our Ethereum value is going to go down. So we want to collateral swap. Maybe we want to collateral swap to DAI here. So we can see that our health rate will remain the same. DAI can be used as collateral, and our liquidation threshold is going to go down slightly. So another thing to note is our net APY will go closer to 0 here. So maybe there's a couple factors there. I'd say the main factor that you want to be aware of is the kind of the value changing of an asset. So with DAI, we're not at risk of our collateral changing in value. Now, the benefit of using ETH to as collateral is if you're long on that, or if you think Ethereum is going to go up in the future, um, there's you're going to get a lower utilization rate or a better health factor as that price of that asset goes up. But that volatility can be kind of a negative connotation. So if you're kind of worried about maybe short term, you're taking your utilization rate or your health factor really close to the limit, and you're worried about those short term dips, maybe you want to use DAI or a stablecoin instead. So that can be done with this collateral swap here. We can switch to maybe a more stable asset. So on the left here, we can see the strategy that would be done in the create mode or advanced mode here. And you can do this all from the create page if you want, but we've developed this lending dashboard to kind of help you out so you don't have to manually add these cubes. So a collateral swap would be a flash loan. We would take the flash loan in the asset that we would want to swap the collateral to. We would deposit that to Aave, return funds on the A token, add funds of the old A token, withdraw your original position, and then swap that original position to DAI to repay the flash loan. So this is kind of what's happening behind the scenes. So when we're ready to go, with this, okay, so we submission EF. Okay, so let's try just making another small deposit here. Okay, so you're going to want to approve the transaction first, and then we can send and swap this collateral to DAI. So if you're a little close to the limit, you might have some difficulty. You probably didn't have to deposit this much, but I deposited a little bit as a buffer, maybe 0.02 or something like that. So now we've switched our Ethereum position to DAI. So that in effect has increased our APY. So we're going to get more from that asset than we were with Ethereum. And then we're also going to get more stability. So if there's a change in asset price, then it's not going to push us over our utilization limit. So we're safer to maybe go long or short on a position because we're not going to get a change in the collateral value. So that's collateral swap. We talked about how to deposit, borrow, debt swap. So there's kind of basic functions here I can talk about on the left and right of the left window, and then right most on the right window. So withdraw and repay. So repay will simply choose your debts and then repay those assets. So you can choose to swap from a different token to repay which token you want, or you can just choose to repay some of your current debts here. So all your debts will show up in the window here. And then, so maybe we want to repay 500 USDT. We can see what's going to happen. So utilization rate will go down. Health factor will go up. Our net APY will increase, and our total debt will decrease, obviously, by the amount that we're repaying. So that can be done with that button. And then there's the withdraw button on the left here, and that will withdraw your collateral. So say you're ready to withdraw your collateral, but you have open debt positions. This button won't allow you to withdraw your assets unless you repay your position. But what you can do is you can use the deleverage function. So deleverage, if we click it, this transaction will use the collateral to repay the debt position without any upfront funds on Aave. So what happens is because the amount supplied to Aave is always over collateralized, you can create a combination that will pull that collateral out using flash loans and then repay your debt position to allow you to repay the flash loan that you took using the supply that you have or the collateral that you have in the lending protocol. So if you wanted to do that, for example, you could click deleverage and you can choose the position that you want to repay. So in this case, USDT. And we want to withdraw the DAI position. We can do that. So the debt that you're going to repay and the collateral that you're going to withdraw, it's going to be calculated just in the amount that your debt has. So you're only going to take out the collateral that you need to repay the debt, basically. So what's going to happen after this is, well, that's basically the only loan that we have outstanding. So it's going to put our utilization rate to almost zero. Our net APY is going to go a lot higher. We're obviously going to get a higher health factor away from being liquidated. And how does the strategy work then? So on the left here, we can see how this works. So we would take out a flash loan of the debt we're trying to repay, so USDT. It's going to repay that debt, USDT. We're going to add the A tokens back to the contract. We are going to withdraw our DAI position, so our collateral. We're going to swap that to USDT and repay that flash loan. So you can basically pull your collateral out without worrying about, repaying your debts upfront. So this combination does it all for you. So if we want to close that position and withdraw our collateral, we can do that by clicking approve here and then sending our transaction. Okay. So the dashboard should update. Okay, there we go. So now we've taken out most of our balance here. And again, this combination only pulled out what we needed to repay the debt position. So if we're happy with that, then we could use this withdraw function now to just withdraw the available DAI collateral that we have left there. So I can do that with the withdraw function. Approve the asset here. And then send the transaction. And now we would have completely removed our DAI position here. So now we've closed our position for the most part, and we've removed our collateral from Aave. So if there's a little bit here you want to remove, again, you could just use the repay function to repay. Let's just see if I have, okay, I got USDT. So I can repay the USDT position. And again, you can do that with the button on the right here. So repay, choose which asset you want to repay. Perform the transaction. And confirm. Now, the interesting thing about deleverage too is you don't have to have, again, any upfront funds. So if you're using that debt position somewhere else, you can use your collateral to repay your debts without having to worry about removing those funds that you're using somewhere else that you've borrowed. So say you've borrowed DAI and you're using DAI to get staking rewards in a farm on a different protocol. No worries about, maybe that those funds are time locked and you can't get them for, I don't know, 3 months. So you don't have to worry about that. You can just use the deleverage function to use the collateral as upfront funds to remove your position. So that's a really kind of strong tool to help you manage your position on Aave. So I'm just going to make another deposit here to get us closer back to 1 Ethereum here. And we'll show you the last function on the lending dashboard, which is leverage here. Okay, so our deposit is showing now on the lending dashboard. Okay, so the final function here is leverage. So this transaction will use current collateral to leverage your position on Aave, and you can execute a leverage long or leverage short for your targeted token. So basically, what happens with the leverage is that it allows you to increase your exposure to the market, either long or short, by using the existing collateral you have on the lending protocol. So the leverage will kind of increase your utilization rate by the leverage factor. So you need to make sure you kind of understand how that's going to work. So if let's say we're long on Bitcoin. Let's say we're short on Bitcoin. So 0.02 Bitcoin. Let's go higher, 0.1 Bitcoin. So how will this affect us? So we can see that we're taking on a leverage of 1.8x. So any 1% change in Bitcoin price will change us by pretty close to 1.8 times. So maybe Bitcoin goes down by 10%. Because we're 1.8 leverage, we're going to go, because we're short, Bitcoin goes up by 10%. Then we would go down by 18%. Bitcoin goes up or down 10%, our profit would be 18%. So because of that leverage, our utilization rate will be factored in at that 1.8 times as well. So if we're 72% or a 1.39 health factor, if Bitcoin goes up by 20%, 30%, let's say, then that's going to push us over the health rate of 1 or the utilization rate of 100, and we're likely going to get liquidated. So that's going to happen quicker than if we weren't leveraged, because that's going to exponentially increase everything by 1.8%, or 1.8 times rather. So that's something you need to be aware of when you're doing the leverage. So what's going to happen if we do this position then? So it's going to flash loan a stable coin, deposit that stable coin. It's going to borrow Bitcoin, and it's going to swap that Bitcoin to USDC to repay the flash loan. So whether you're going long or short, it's typically going to use a stable coin position and then do some conversion with that stable coin to either go long or short. So in this case, we're borrowing Bitcoin, swapping that to USDC, and then selling that to pay back the deposited flash loan of USDC. If we were to go long, how would that look? So we're flash loaning BTC to deposit the BTC, to borrow USDC, to swap to Bitcoin to pay back the flash loan. So let's see then. So let's see if this is, if we have to do anything else here, or if this will send. Okay. So with the leverage position, this is what happened. So we ended up going long on Bitcoin. So what we've done is we've taken a collateral position in Bitcoin and we've used the collateral that we had already in Aave. So what happens is we use that collateral in Aave to borrow the USDC to make the deposit of Bitcoin. So we can see on the left here, we've taken out a 0.1 BTC position at a 27.5K. So let's see. So that'd be 2,750. And we borrowed 2,764 USDC on the right. So typically USDC is going to remain at $1. So we don't have to worry about the change in value from the borrowed assets. What we will have to worry about is the change in assets, or the change in value from our collateral assets. So we have quite a bit of exposure to the market here. We have Ethereum market risk, and we have the Bitcoin market risk from our leverage strategy. So that's going to put us at about 80% utilization. So we want to be aware of what's going to happen if the value changes in these assets. So of course we can use then the advanced tooling to change this at any time. We can do a collateral swap, we can do a dead swap, or we can deleverage. So again, deleverage is going to close one of these positions here that we want to lower the risk on. So again, if we're uncomfortable with the position of Bitcoin, we can use this strategy to close and take back that collateral. Again, this wouldn't be possible using the withdraw function, or maybe doing this from a different interface, but the flash loan functionality gives you that ability to do that on Furucombo. So most of these advanced strategies, leverage, deleverage, debt swap, collateral swap, are done through this flash loan functionality. Okay. So that is kind of a brief introduction to the lending dashboard and some of the functions available. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Or is anything unclear? You can post in the chat, in the voice lobby, or just in the main chat. We have one comment. I cannot get a collateral swap to go through to save my life. Okay, so let's just go back to a collateral swap here. So one thing I did earlier is sometimes, I'm not sure if you tried the lending dashboard War Bishop, but sometimes with all the decimals, it can create a problem. And you need to also be aware of what the new health rate or liquidation threshold is. Can that asset be used as collateral? So these are things that didn't appear in the original, when we were setting up the combinations here. Some of that information was there, but it wouldn't be clear as it is in the lending dashboard. So just be aware of maybe some of these factors here were preventing the transaction from processing. So Okay, so let's give this a try. Maybe we don't want any more exposure to Bitcoin. We want to swap to Ethereum. So let's just give this one a try. So this is using max asset here. We'll approve this. And we'll send. Okay, so no issues here with the decimals. So yeah, so just double check that again, that asset can be used as collateral. Your collateral limit is not getting too high because that asset has a different ceiling or threshold, and that there's no other problems that you can see with the kind of liquidation threshold, health rate, that kind of thing, utilization rate when you're making that collateral swap. That could be giving you a problem. So as you can see here, we've switched everything to Ethereum, and there's a very micro amount or small amount of sats left in Bitcoin just for slippage purposes. But we could, for example, if we're worried about this being unclean, we could just close out the full position here and clean up the dashboard a bit. But you shouldn't have any issues with using the collateral swap if your factors are the same. I know a lot of people too have issues with the cube system because of the way that it's set up. The combination can be kind of confusing, especially with the return fund, add fund. Which cube do you go with, return fund or add fund on? Okay, so the last thing I want to mention, if you have any problems, you can go to docs.furucombo.app and you can go to our lending dashboard page, and it's going to give you an overview. It's going to talk about what's on the left-hand side, what's on the right-hand side, utilization, health rate, what all the functions are. And at the bottom here, you can click go to the tutorial page, and this will give you an example on how to do each of these functions. So deposit, withdraw, borrow, repay, collateral, and debt swaps, leverage, and deleverage. You can click the leverage, for example, if you're interested in that. And it's going to tell you exactly what you need to know and how to perform that transaction via this page if it's still unclear after the video. And of course, if you have any problems at all, you can visit us on our Discord and I would be happy to help you here. So I hope that was useful to you in understanding how the lending dashboard works. And we'll see you around the community. Thanks again for attending the workshop, and everyone in attendance here will receive the Furucombo Lending Dashboard Workshop OAT. So thanks again, everyone, and have a fantastic day. Cheers.